What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. I am your host, Israel Rivera, here with another edition of College Football Showdown presented by Prime Sports World, here with my main man, Christian Simpson, here. Usually we do the show on Fridays, ladies and gentlemen, but I will be traveling tomorrow, so doing this a little earlier than expected, Christian. But before we start the show, I'm going to ask you guys to please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And in case you missed this live feed, you can catch us on all podcast streams where podcasts can be heard. But what's going on, Christian? What is going on, my man?
Just another day, another week, getting ready to do this show with you. And we have a sexy schedule for college football this week. I thought some NFL earlier in the week, and now, we're about to break down some college football, and I'm always looking forward to it.
Real sexy schedule.
Real sexy.
Real sexy schedule. I feel like Ric Flair with a limousine with 25 women just waiting and dying for me to go, woo, baby, let's go. That's how. Anyways, so we got a lot to talk about. I don't know where I come up with this stuff, man. But we got a lot to talk about. Week 3, some of the week 3 takeaways I got, man. You can add some, but the first one I have, LSU gets back. I know they won against They beat Grambling after that week 1 loss. And then they get a big win on the road over Mississippi State. With a week 1 loss to Florida State, my bad, ladies and gentlemen. And they get a big win over Mississippi State, and they look real good doing it, man. What were your thoughts on that game for LSU?
Man, I just saw such an efficient performance from Jaden Daniels. He completed 88% of his passes. He was 30 of 34. He accounted for 4 touchdowns. He threw 2, and then he ran for 2. And he put a lot of pressure on that Mississippi State defense. And they really had no answer for him because they didn't know what he was going to do. I mean, if he can play like this more consistently, we're talking about one of the scarier players in the country, Izzy. But that's the question. Can he do this more consistently?
Absolutely. Yeah, I almost put him back into the Heisman rankings this week just because of that performance. And I think if he has more performances like that, he will go into the Heisman. He will be back into the Heisman rankings, the top 8 at least. Because there's a fellow that was supposed to be top 5 in the Heisman rankings. He's dropped considerably, and that's Drake May. Hasn't looked that good so far this year. And Jaden Daniels has bounced back. I mean, albeit the game against Grambling, it's against Grambling, weaker, lesser competition, but against Mississippi State on the road, he looked fantastic, man. Like you said, and if he can put together these consistent games like this, Jaden Daniels is gonna have LSU being right in the thick of things. They'll be one of the best 1-loss teams in the nation.
Yeah,
hands down.
Definitely see that. There's still a lot of football left to be played because in the SEC West, we have some things to talk about, Izzy. We talk all the time during the games on Saturday for college and on Sunday during the NFL, and we always say you got a lot to say.
I always got a lot to say. I always got a lot to say when it comes to the SEC, especially that damn SEC West and them damn Alabama Crimson Tide, which a lot of people have a lot to say about them, which actually rolls perfectly right into the next takeaway. Alabama's quarterback blues. Last week, jolly old Nick, started Tyler Buckner, who was a freshman last year on Notre Dame squad last week. And then he brings in, was it Ty Simpson, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, Ty Simpson, another freshman quarterback who didn't look good at all in that game as well. And then comes out after the game and says, well, Jalen Milroe won the quarterback competition. Excuse me? He didn't even play against South Florida. So how the hell did he win the quarterback competition?
Exactly.
So you were just so like the audacity. If I was South Florida, I would be highly disrespected, Christian.
Yeah,
because you literally used us as a quarterback, like the game as a quarterback competition. Like this was a scrimmage.
yeah.
What?
Look, I was talking to someone the other day, and I even said it on Monday Evening Quarterback when I recorded. Oh, go check that out, by the way. Monday Evening Quarterback on Twitter,
Absolutely.
Spotify, YouTube, and Blog Talk Radio. You know, I still got to get my main man, Israel Rivera, as a phone caller. Everybody else from the Prime has been on MEQ except for one, and I'm saving the best for last. And I hope the rest of the guys heard that too. But nah, but look, Izzy, what I'm about to say, okay, here, let's really dive in and break this down because whenever I think of Alabama, and their style of football, it's physical, it's downhill, they bully you, they have a power running game. Last few years they've had prolific wide receivers on the perimeter. The front seven, they do what they do, but they've always had a standout in the secondary, whether it's Minka Fitzpatrick, whether it's Clinton Dix, whether it's Mark Barron, Patrick Surtain II. In the last couple of years, they've been kind of vulnerable in the secondary. In other words, I guess what I'm saying, Alabama doesn't scare me anymore. Like I'm not afraid of them like I used to be.
No, absolutely. They are not the big bad wolf like they used to be, ladies and gentlemen. They are very, very and I would just want to share Christian's Daily Bliss blog. So go ahead and check that out. But they are very just the chink in the armor this year is risen. I mean, they're inexperienced. I mean, they're inexperienced at wide receiver. They're inexperienced at quarterback. Their defense isn't, on point like it used to be. They have DB troubles in the back end. I mean, to only beat South Florida, which is, I'm not going to say South Florida is a bad team, but they're not on the level of Alabama, where Alabama has 5 stars across the board. You only beat them by 2 touchdowns in South Florida, a game in which, let's say if Mac Jones or Tua Tagovailoa or Jalen Hurts or even Bryce Young was playing last year, they would blow South Florida out the water in
Yeah,
South Florida. So
I
this
could see Alabama with one of those quarterbacks that you listed, probably putting up 70 points on
South Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, but the fact that Nick Saban used this game as a as a measuring stick for who he wants to go at quarterback for the rest of the season doesn't sit well with me. If I was the AD, doesn't sit well with me if I were boosters at Alabama. And this has got some of the Alabama faithful clamoring for Nick's job. Basically, I think they're getting tired of Nick. I think they see the times have changed. Nick is reluctant to access access the NIL, to utilize the NIL. He's he doesn't like players utilizing it. He doesn't really like to hit the transfer portal. This year, I think this year we've seen a little bit of him, hitting the transfer portal. Even last year, or a couple years ago, Jamison Williams coming from Ohio State to Alabama. But I mean, not like some of these other teams, like let's say a Colorado, let's say a Texas A&M, let's say some of these other bigger schools. They're utilizing the transfer portal. They're utilizing that NIL money, and Alabama is just Nick is just kind of behind the times. He's stubborn right now, and he just thinks the old school recruiting style is going to get it done, and it's not going to get it done. When other teams are when they're throwing out buku amount of dollars to get these big time recruits. And so either Nick's going to have to change, or, I can see, Alabama throwing a whole bunch of money at Kirby Smart to come back and coach Alabama. That's
I could see it because
yeah.
Kirby has taken everything that he's learned under Nick Saban, right?
Yeah.
And he's applied that at Georgia, but I think in these last couple of years, he's done it better than Nick has. And
Absolutely.
look, I'm just saying right now, if I'm a team playing Alabama, I'm not afraid of them. Like they don't pose as that threat that we've seen in previous years. And you said it best. Nick hasn't really adapted with the game.
No, he's just stubborn in his ways. It's got a lot of Alabama faithful clamoring for his job, especially after this week. The audacity of you to use this a regular season game as a measuring stick with two freshman quarterbacks. You're that cocky. What if you would have lost this game? Now you're definitely out of the college football playoff conversation, right? So that was just a very risky move, in my opinion, for Nick Saban. And then for him to come out and say, "Oh, Jalen Milroe's the guy." I mean, he didn't even play. He should have been the guy, period. Anyways, I mean, even if he had a bad game, he should have been the guy against Texas. He should have been the guy, period. He's the guy that he's going to make more explosive plays for your team, and he's the guy that's going to be the best quarterback to help you win football games. So moving on, Colorado. Colorado has taken the college football lane. It's taken the sports world by storm. Period. They won an overtime thriller against Colorado State, which lasted up until the wee hours of 1 a.m. in the morning. Which man, that's past my bedtime, folks. I'm with sleep. So, all I know is I saw the 98-yard drive that Shador Sanders had to tie that game up with the 2-point conversion, to tie that game up and send it to OT. And this young fella isn't a young pup anymore, and I fell asleep overtime. But anyways, Colorado ended up winning that game. So what do you take from that win against Colorado State? I know there were some things being said before I take my shades off. I had my shades on last week. My shades
You did
off when I talked to adults, and they kind of took that as a personal challenge, and things were chippy. I mean, the safety from Colorado State, who received all types of threats and stuff after the game, put that licking on Travis Hunter, which was a necessary roughness penalty. It wasn't a targeting. Many people thought that was a dirty illegal hit. I have a platform, so I'll go ahead and say it. I even had some guys on Instagram really hitting my inbox out talking about, "I'll come see you," just because I said that was old school football and that was an old school football hit. But I will acknowledge that they are trying to get rid of those hits out of the game. But that is an old school football hit. Steve Atwater, Ronnie Lott, Sean Taylor, guys like that I am used to seeing used to make hits like that. So Ryan Clark, but they're trying to get rid of that stuff. So I get it. But it was a little chippiness. So what do you take out of that game against Colorado State for Colorado?
it's a very chippy football game. A lot of talking happening, and I just want to say this: you can't give a team bulletin board material, because that's what I kind of feel Colorado did against Colorado State, giving the glasses out, which I thought was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Taking it personal. Just don't say anything. Handle it on the field. But I think this is a little bit of a wake up call for Colorado. Yeah, you got by TCU, you dominated Nebraska, but that was more Nebraska losing that game than it was Colorado winning that game, because they shot themselves in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
So many drives and so many opportunities. But this one, man, they needed double overtime to win this. And man, that's Shador Sanders. He's so poised to be so young, and playing the most important position on the football field, which is what? Quarterback. I am not sold on their defense, because their defense gives up a lot of big plays down the field, and they still can't stop the run, nor can they run the football. But them losing Travis is tough, because he's arguably been the most electrifying player in college football this year, because he's done it on both sides of the football. He's done it offensively. He's done it
Mm-hmm.
defensively. And dare I say it, reminds me a little of his coach, because Prime was doing this when he played, and Charles Woodson was doing this when he was in college as well, Izzy. So, he's just been so much fun to watch. Travis Hunter, he was as good as advertised. I remember when Dion was able to scoop him up at Jackson State and then bring him to Boulder with him. Nah, he wasn't letting this kid get by him. But this Colorado defense has to tighten things up, and now they're about to see the meat and potatoes of their schedule. Pac-12.
Oh man, they're about to hit a gauntlet. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. Not yet the other day, yesterday, and I said, man, they gotta play Oregon at Oregon. They gotta play USC at USC. They got to play Washington State at Washington State. They got to play Utah at Utah, and then I think they play Oregon State as well, but it's at home. I mean, all
And I
very
think,
well,
and,
Christian. Those
and I
could be
think,
all losses, man.
yeah, and I
And
think USC is in Boulder. And I
is
think
USC in bold? I thought that was in. Okay, yeah, USC.
I think it's at home for Colorado. That's gonna be
Yeah,
tough
USC is
because
at Boulder. USC is at Boulder. I forgot they do. I forgot about UCLA. They got to go to UCLA. They got to play UCLA. They do have to play Washington State at Washington State, and they play Utah at Utah. And UCLA has a good, freshman quarterback, of their own. But they're about to hit some reality checks right now, and I think they really have to tighten the things up. I mean, the run stopping aspect of their defense, they can't stop the run. They
oh
can't stop the run. They can't stop big plays from an adequate quarterback. As we saw, Nicolosi from Colorado State was slinging it all over the field against them. So, I mean, we've doubted them before, especially against TCU. We doubted them against TCU, but that's the same TCU team that let Georgia score 60 beat them by 60 in the Natty.
exactly.
So, like you said, Nebraska beat themselves. So, what I want to see, and we'll get to it in the next game. What I want to see out of that little gauntlet is at least go 500 and be competitive in every single game.
Yeah,
Because I don't think you're going to win them all. I don't think your team's designed to win all those games. I mean, the season's already a success, right? They hired Deion Sanders to put people in the stands. They hired Deion Sanders to sell tickets. They hired Deion Sanders to put Colorado football back on the map.
Yeah.
Which all three things is what he did. Now it's all up to Deion Sanders' own expectations. Okay, what do I want? Am I striving to win a national championship every year that I'm here? Do I want to remain in the top 25? Do I want to have a top 10 recruiting class? Those are some of the things that, do I want to have a Heisman Trophy candidate every year? Do I want to send guys to the pros? That's some things that Deion Sanders internally has to have. But I think right now the season's already a success. There's nothing that you can say about it.
No, there's not, because remember what we said, no matter what they do this year and what their record is, whatever record they finish with, it's going to be a vast improvement, an immense improvement at that, because this is a program that Deion inherited that went 1-11 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Speaks precedence, and that speaks volumes.
Absolutely. And I mean, even though it's a totally different team with some players scattered here and there that stayed, this team has done a totally 180 from last season. Moving on to the week to the AP Top 25. The top 5 stays the same pretty much: Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Florida State, and SC, with Texas moving up to number 3 and Florida State moving down. Just disrespectful to Florida State, which I think Florida State is the best team in college football, in my opinion. They're just being disrespected left and right. In Michigan, last week they played who did Central? They played. I think they played Western. No, they played Western Michigan, right? Let me see who Michigan played last week. They didn't look good. That's all I got to say. JJ McCarthy threw 3 picks last week.
Yeah.
No, they didn't play Central Michigan. They played. Godly, I'm pulling it up now. Might have been Miami, Ohio. No, it was a Bowling Green. But I knew I was on the right track. They played a MAC school. And J.J. McCarthy threw 3 picks in that game. I mean, he looked ugly for the first half, at least. And Bowling Green was kind of in that game. So, I'm surprised Michigan hasn't moved down in the rankings. Just based on that game. And Texas didn't move up to number 2. But, it is what it is when it comes down to the top 5. And then number 6, we got Ohio State. 7, Penn State. 8, Washington, who they have Washington, who's been rolling. They rolled past Michigan State. Michael Penix Jr. I mean, he's just a man on a mission this year.
Yeah,
At number 9, he is. At number 9, we got Notre Dame. And then rounding out the top 10, we have Oregon, who moves up 3 slots this week as they got a big game at home against Colorado this week. And then rounding out the top 25, got Utah at 11, Number 12, LSU, big game against Mississippi State. We talked about that. Winning, they go up 2 slots here in the rankings. Alabama moves down 3 slots in the ranking because just how bad they've looked. Last week against South Florida at number 13, and Oregon State moves up a couple slots into the top 14. And then number 15, we got Ole Miss, who's played great football this week. They have a big game against Alabama. We'll get to them. And then at number 16, we got Oklahoma, who's looked great. Who's looked, honestly, Christian, I'm going to say Oklahoma's been quietly flying under the radar. Nobody's been talking about them. But Oklahoma's been flying under the radar this year.
They have been, and that Red River rivalry in a couple weeks. I can't wait. I think we're going to be talking about that.
And you know what? This year Brent Venables, you could tell the impact he's had. They have played much better defense this season at Oklahoma than they have in years past. And Brent Venables is finally getting his guys into the program. And you could see it. So don't sleep on Oklahoma. I mean, this is a team that they've always been in the college football playoff conversation. I think Brent Venables has his team in the right direction. And then number 17, we got North Carolina, 18, Duke, 19, Colorado, 20, Miami, still moving up the rankings up 2 slots. Number 21, Washington State moving up a couple slots. UCLA moving up a couple slots. They have a freshman quarterback that is really talented and more that can get it done. And then number 23, we got Tennessee moving down 12 slots from last week after their loss to Florida, which really shocked me. I probably should have put that in the week 3 takeaways. What do you think about Tennessee in that game against Florida? Still 20 years haven't beaten Florida in the Swamp.
Tough loss, but I think my biggest takeaway was a little incident that happened before the game ended. You're down 13 points. Florida's in victory formation. You decide to push people and throw punches, and a fight breaks out. Look, you're not going to be great. You're not going to be victorious in everything you do in this lifetime. Let me just put that out there right now, Izzy.
Absolutely.
So, there's that. And 2, when things like this happen, you can only point fingers at one guy, the coach. This had Josh Heupel written all over it, which kind of surprises me. A horrible look, and you're looked at more at how you handle the losses than you are when you handle the wins.
Absolutely, I agree, Christian. I thought that was Bush League. I thought and then Joe, and then Joe Milton out there, ready to throw hands. I'm like, they need you, man. You're the quarterback, bro. What you trying to fight a big defensive lineman for, bro? Like a big offensive lineman, defensive lineman for. So yeah, I thought that was Bush League at the end of the game. At number 24, round at the top 25, we got Iowa, and then Florida sneaks into the top 25 after the big win against number 11 Tennessee last week. Moving into our week 4 games to watch. This is the meat and potatoes of the show, ladies and gentlemen. As me and Christian go over the games of the week, and Christian's gonna probably plug in some shameless plugs here. So be prepared for those, and make sure to check out the dailyblitz.blog as we are as I put that in the podcast. We have a couple questions though here, Christian. James Donnelly says, "What do you think of Clemson offering a scholarship to wide receiver Ice Wallacom?" I have to look up who Ice Wallacom is. You must be a diehard Clemson fan to bring up a high schooler's name in that regard. I did not expect that question coming. I have to look at who Ice Wallacom. Oh wow, goofy. I already knew what he was. I already knew what the hell he was talking about. He got me with that one. He got me with that one, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, you ain't gonna get me again. Hey, shame on me. Shame on me the first time. I got you. Hey, James Donnelly, thanks for checking out the podcast. But you can go ahead and go check out I Swallow Come yourself. Oh God, Jesus. What does TJ say? I can't believe I fell for that one, Christian.
Yeah, I can't. I did too, man. It's okay.
Imagine wanting Colorado to fail because you don't like the way the coach acts. Bowling Green. Yeah, TJ. Yeah, a lot of people, hate on Deion Sanders pizzazz. They've been doing that since he was a player. Anyways, number 4, Florida State versus Clemson. That is the first game on the slate as week games was. As we got a lot of sexy games to watch for week 4 here on the slate. What do you think about this game, Christian?
Florida State didn't look all that great to me last week. They looked ahead to this game. And Izzy, what do I always say?
31-29.
You can't look ahead and you can't overlook who's standing in front of you because, one, they're going to look at that, the team that you're playing, they're going to look at that as disrespectful. And then number 2, no matter what happens in that game, win, lose, or draw, that big opponent that you're looking forward to, they're still going to be there at the end of the day. But, here's the thing. Florida State, to be honest with you, Izzy, this Florida State team reminds me a lot of that 2013 team. A lot of balance on offense, the explosive receivers, and they have a defense that's absolutely punishing, and they're very well coached. But Clemson, Clemson's going to get up for this game. I mean, Clemson knows this is a rivalry game, and this is one that you and I was talking about would be a lot better if Clemson were ranked. But unfortunately, that's how the cards fall. They're not. I like Florida State in this one, and don't be surprised if Florida State blows them out.
Yeah, I think that was a wake-up call last week. Barely scaving by against Boston College. Jordan Travis still looking amazing this week. K. Klubnik has kind of, has played, pretty well the last couple games since losing to Duke in that first game, albeit against Charleston Southern and FAU. But he needed that. He needed that to get back on track, to get some swagger back. Now you play against a really good team in Florida State. Right now, Clemson has a streak right now in the ACC, and I think Florida State is poised to bust that streak to win the ACC because I think they've won. If I'm not mistaken, Clemson has won the ACC. What about damn near how many times in the last 10 years, Christian? 8 years. They've won 8 straight over Florida State.
8 straight at one time, and I know Clemson. They were the cream of the crop in the ACC at one time. I mean, it was, you could almost just gift wrap this division, this conference to them.
To Clemson.
Yeah, you really could.
Yeah, and they've won 7 straight against Florida State, looking for their 8th straight victory there in Death Valley. So, I don't see it. I think Florida State. I got Florida State. And don't be surprised, like Christian said, if they blow Clemson out the water in this one. Next game on the slate, we got number 15 Ole Miss versus number 13 Alabama. And Christian, how do you see this one playing out? Because you know what? I'm being real with you, man. I know they're playing in Tuscaloosa. I know Jalen Milroe is supposedly their quarterback, but I really like Ole Miss in this game.
Couldn't agree with you anymore. Look, Lane Kiffin's going to have his men ready to play. And Ole Miss always just seems to present that tough challenge for Nick Saban and Alabama. They play them tough in Mississippi and they play them tough in Tuscaloosa. I think this is the game where we say bye-bye to Alabama. I'm taking Ole Miss in Tuscaloosa. Let's go, baby. Upset City, baby.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm taking Ole Miss. I think Jackson Dart has played amazing this year. He's playing great football for Ole Miss. I honestly think that Alabama's in trouble. I think they're going to lose this game to Ole Miss. Jackson Dart's going to have a great game. He's got 7 touchdowns on the season, the 1 interception, 852 yards. I expect Ole Miss to play good defense. I mean, this is how Alabama's going to win. Running the football and imposing their will on Ole Miss and getting Jalen Milroe out. He's not going to be your prototypical pro-style quarterback that Nick Saban is used to running with. You're going to have to, play him like how you played Jalen Hurts in his freshman year, where you ran a lot of quarterback runs. You got to put this kid, put him in positions to show out his athleticism, right? Get him out in space. Run some quarterback design runs for Jalen Milroe. He's a guy. He's your home run threat. He can bust it open. That is the only way I see Alabama winning. And the defense has to tighten up against Ole Miss because Jackson Dart can throw darts out there. But I got Ole Miss going into Tuscaloosa and beating Alabama. Next game on the slate, we got number 22 UCLA going up against number 11 Utah. How do you see this one playing out?
Man, I think this is going to be a physical football game. I like this Utah team. They're almost like the Iowa Hawkeyes of the West Coast because you know what you're going to get from them. They're downhill. There's nothing fancy with them, and they're still getting the job done, even without Cam Rising. Just imagine where they would be if Cam Rising were playing. We could be talking about them as a borderline top 10 team, but here they are at number 11. If this game were in California, I go UCLA, but I like the Utes. It's something about that home field advantage in Utah, and I think that's really going to propel Utah and the Utes to a victory.
And like I said, man, you know what, Dante Moore, man, he looks like he's built in that mold. He reminds me a lot of what Caleb Williams does at USC. Ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie to you. This kid is a 5-star recruit. He's probably one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. Chip Kelly gets him like probably. I want to say Chip Kelly has him one of the best quarterbacks that he's ever had coaching. Period. And Dante Moore. This kid's been lights out. With that being said, man, this is going to be a physical game. Honestly, I'm going to pick UCLA to win this game. Even though it's in Utah, I know Utah is favored by 5.5 points, but I think Dante Moore, Carson Steele, running the football, who, the transfer from Ball State, he's a physical guy. I think this is going to be a very physical game. I'm going UCLA to win this football game in Salt Lake City this weekend. So, and you know what, man, this game's on a Saturday. Shoot, I might go to this game, Christian. I'm gonna be in Salt Lake City this weekend. I might go to this game. I might have to convince the young gal to come with me, even though she don't like football like that. Shame on her for not liking football.
Look, Izzy, if I could, I'd fly up there and link up with my brother. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to make that happen. We're going to have to make that happen, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. But I got UCLA winning that football game, ladies and gentlemen. Christian, you got Utah winning that football game.
Yeah.
And Cam Rising, they are missing Cam Rising, man. He's still out. I don't think he's going to be back for this game. Money Parks has been phenomenal for Utah. But yeah, I think that UCLA is going to win this game. Utah's a little banged up coming in. So yeah, that's just my take on it. The next game, we got number 24 Iowa going into Happy Valley and playing number 7 Penn State in a battle of Big Ten foes. How do you see this one shaking out?
I previewed this one on the site today. Iowa, they are who they show you they are. You know what you're going to get from them. They're going to run that football downhill, nothing fancy. They run that traditional old school offense, but their offense has improved this year under Kate McNamara. When I look at Penn State, I think they have the best duo of running backs in the country, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton and Drew Allar. He's taking tremendous care of the football, but can this Iowa passing attack, are they going to be able to make plays against this zone coverage that you're going to see from the Hawkeyes on Saturday night? And I think they can. I just think, look, it's a whiteout game. It's prime time under the lights. These fans are going to really be into it. This is going to be a little too much, I think, for Iowa. I like Penn State. I think Penn State beats them by about 15 to 16 points.
Yeah, Penn State is favored by 4.5 points coming into the game. Iowa's trying to go 4-0 for the first time since 2019. Yeah, I just think everything that you just mentioned, you're spot on. Drew Allar, even though I know that McNamara, has improved Iowa. Drew Allar's, much better quarterback. Than that. He makes he's probably Franklin's one of his best quarterbacks. Probably in the team, probably the best with the most talent, in my opinion, and Drew Allar. And then, like you said, Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, that's probably one of the best running back duos in the nation. I think this is going to be a physical game, but I think Penn State's going to out physical and out muscle Iowa at home. Give me Penn State to win. I do like that 14.5 point line. I think it could be 14 to 17 points where Iowa loses by to Penn State. Going into the next game, we got Oregon State going up against number 21 Washington State going into Wazoo. How do you see this one shaking out? You got DJ Uiagalelei there, Oregon State. I mean, they've been rolling this season. How do you see that one shaking out?
I'm gonna go Oregon State. I really like what I've seen from DJ. I love the complementary weapons that he has. They're playing good enough defense to get off the field and get the ball back to the offense. I think this is going to be a tough game for Wazoo. I know Pullman is a tough place to go and get,
Mm-hmm.
but I think if there's a team that can go up there and silence that crowd, it's the Beavers.
Absolutely. One guy that I am gonna mention though, it's a very hard, difficult place to play, like you said in Pullman, Washington. But one guy that I think that nobody's been talking about has been Cameron Ward, the quarterback from Washington State. 9 touchdowns, no interceptions, 986 yards. He's been extremely accurate in that system. I know it's a pass-happy system, but he's a guy that can be a game changer for Washington State. With that being said, I know the line is 3 points, so it's extremely close. DJ is gonna have to make plays. This is where the lights, camera, action is on DJ Uiagalelei, right?
Couldn't agree.
Because we saw it at Clemson State at Clemson that in the biggest moments he did not shine. I know he's got a hell of a running back. He had a hell of a running back in Clemson, right? He has a hell of a running back in Oregon State and a hell of a offensive line in Oregon State. A hell of a defense too. They're very physical. I mean, he couldn't have landed in the most perfect place than Oregon State. He looks like he's more comfortable there and everything like that. But is DJ going to make the plays in crunch time that we want him to make, that we expect him to make? He was supposed to be the second coming after the next great quarterback X in line after Trevor Lawrence left. And so, from Clemson, then he transferred to Oregon State. And so now, I want to see, I know this game is going to be close. I want to see DJ make those necessary plays to win the football game. The ball's going to be in his hands. I got my son behind me here playing with me. But I think I got Oregon State winning this being a close one as well. DJ's going to have to make some plays to win the football game.
Yeah. What's up, nephew?
Say what's up to the crowd.
What's up?
Get up out of here. Go. Anyways, going to the next game. We got one of the bigger games of the week. It's not the game of the week, but it is. I think TJ gonna give me some slack saying game of the week OSU and Notre Dame. Well, duh, it is gonna be that. It should be that. But this, if those two teams weren't playing, this probably be the game of the week. Number 19 Colorado going into Eugene to play number 10 Oregon. This is where we're gonna see if Colorado is really for real or not. Christian, how do you see this one playing out?
I previewed this one on Tuesday. Oregon is probably going to be the best team that they've seen all year because they're better than TCU, Nebraska, and Colorado State combined because they have a key guy at the most important position, which is quarterback. And what you just said about DJ Uiagalelei, I can apply that to Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix transferring to Eugene and going to Oregon was the best thing to happen to him. He just seems so relaxed and so poised. And this Oregon team, they're so balanced on both sides of the football because they can run it. They have a pretty good duo of running backs themselves, and Noah Whittington, and I can't think of the other guy right now.
Yeah, is it Irving?
Correct. Right.
Yeah, Bryce Irving. Or Bucky Irving. I'm sorry.
Right. They have a strong offensive line. They have nice weapons on the perimeter. And I think Whittington's going to be key for Oregon. He's my X factor for this game. That when I look at Colorado, man, Xavier Weaver, he's been excellent this year for Colorado. And there's a reason why Deion went and got him. And I don't think people watch this kid at USF last year, South Florida, because he was all AAC last season. This kid makes catches in traffic. This kid can go up and get the ball. He can stretch the field. He's a red zone threat. It's going to be key for Colorado. They got to take this crowd out the game early on. Like, just imagine what they went through in Fort Worth against TCU. Intensify that times a million. But I think Oregon gets them on Saturday. I just think Oregon is the sharper team, and yeah, I'm taking the Ducks here.
Yeah, whew, man, I like what you said about Bo Nix, man. I mean, he's what is he, fourth year, fifth year guy. Um, transfer from Auburn. We saw real great moments there at Auburn. We saw great moments all last year after that loss from against Georgia in Week 1. That he played tremendously the rest of the year, and then he's actually transitioned that into this year as Bo Nix is a Heisman Trophy candidate. You are exactly right. You're gonna have to take Oregon out the game, and you're gonna have to take the crowd out the game immediately, and that means that you are gonna have to be efficient on offense. I don't care how you put it. The defense isn't going to stop a thing against Oregon. This is going to be a 45-48. If you're efficient on offense, 45-48, this is going to be, you're going to have to keep up with 45, 48, 50 points with Oregon because that's how much they're going to score. That's how much they're going to get up and down the field. And, Dan Lanning, I don't make much of some of the stuff that these coaches have said about Colorado before hand because Dan Lanning said something early in the preseason, like, Colorado, like, what have they won? Like, what have they done in the Pac-12? They haven't done anything. And this was, I think, before Deion took the job. Or no, this was when Deion took the job. And he wasn't saying anything about Deion. He's actually right. Like, Colorado, in the last 10 years has only had, or 20 years has only had like one winning season, something like that. They've only been to one Pac-12 championship game. So, and Dan Lanning doubled back and said, I don't regret saying that at all because I'm like, what I said was right. And he's like, you can use it as bulletin board material. You can take it, how you want it, but it's nothing, no disrespect to Deion, but it's not gonna determine the outcome of the game. His guys are gonna be ready to play. I do believe that, it's a 21-point spread. Everybody expects Colorado to lose by a couple touchdowns here. I think Oregon is going to be in for a little bit of a surprise with Colorado and a little bit of surprise with Shedeur Sanders and how well Shedeur Sanders commands the pocket, how accurate Shedeur Sanders is, how calm he is in situations. I think the defense is going to be surprised. I think it's going to be a close game. If I was a bettor, I'm taking the 21 points on Colorado. I'm not saying Colorado is going to win. I think it's going to be close. I think it's hard to win in Eugene. I think the crowd's going to be crazy. I think the defense is what's going to lose them the game against Oregon. And I think keeping up with Oregon is going to be the toughest task for Deion Sanders in the Colorado offense. But I think Shedeur Sanders is up for the task. I think, he's top 5 in the Heisman for a reason. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. Yep. I think it's going to be a close one. I think this could very well go down into like the later stages of the fourth quarter where, one or two possessions, determines the outcome of the game, in my opinion. So I go with Oregon in this game to win against Colorado, but I'm not going to take the 21 points. I don't think that for Oregon, I don't think that Oregon's going to beat them by 3 touchdowns. I think Colorado's a much better team than what people expect. And the last time it was a 21-point spread, what did they do to TCU? They went into Fort Worth and they beat them. Yeah. So Colorado, I gotta give Deion respect. He always has his boys ready to play, and I think they'll be ready to play against Oregon. I don't know if they win. I'm gonna actually go with Oregon to win in a close one. It's gonna be a shootout. And then, Christian, we have our game of the week. Number 6, Ohio State. I was ready for this one. Number 6, Ohio State, the rematch. Number 6, Ohio State going up against number 9, Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish, the Golden Domers, playing in South Bend this time, but playing against a totally different offensive system, playing against a totally different quarterback. You're not playing against Tyler Buckner. Tommy Rees ain't on the sidelines. They actually look like a better offense without Tommy Rees, definitely without Tyler Buckner. Better defensively. This team is totally different. Ohio State is a different team from what they were, but they still dominant. How do you see this one shaking out?
First off, Izzy, you already know what I'm about to say.
Yes, I already knew what he was about. Shameless plug, baby.
Shameless plug, baby. Man, this is almost like a history lesson because we have blue bloods here. They opened up last year in Columbus, and there were two teams that kept Ohio State under 30 points. Can you guess who they were?
I'm gonna say Michigan and Notre Dame.
Bingo. Michigan and Notre Dame. Notre Dame kind of unveiled the blueprint on how to neutralize CJ Stroud in that offense. It's almost like how you play the Kansas City Chiefs, what I told you. Play two safeties high, keep that spy in the middle of the field, and force them to earn everything underneath. Ohio State, they're a different football team now. Kyle McCord, I think, is still trying to get a feel for everything. This defense has really impressed me this year. I mean, they're punching people in the mouth. They're winning the battle of the trenches up front, but this isn't going to be easy for them because Notre Dame has an offensive line. And so I think this is going to be a dogfight. I cannot wait to preview this one. I just think of all the legendary names that have played for both these schools.
Mm-hmm.
Rome Bettis, Tim Brown, Joe Montana, Chris Carter, and all those guys I just listed are Pro Football Hall of Famers. Game day is going to be there. This is going to be an electric atmosphere. I want to see how Ohio State's going to come after Sam Hartman. This is going to be the best quarterback that they've seen all year. And if I'm Notre Dame, I'm making McCord beat me. That kid's dropping back.
Yeah, he's dropping back, and you know what? I'm gonna say this right now. He's dropping back, and he's gonna go against one of the best secondaries in the nation, led by Ben Morrison. Let me tell you. Let me get some. Notre Dame hasn't beaten Ohio State since 1936. Okay. So you don't think that these guys are the boosters and the AD and everybody on that campus is buzzing because they think that Notre Dame this is the best shot to beat this damn team and damn near what I'm not a mathematician, but 80 plus years. They haven't beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
So Sam Hartman has been a godsend since transferring over from Wake Forest. He's moved into a different offensive system. Less pass happy, more pro style, still completing 71% of his passes, over 1,000 yards, 15 total touchdowns. Sam Hartman has been the man, and he's the missing piece. He is literally the missing piece that Notre Dame has been missing since, pretty much Everett Golson. When Everett Golson took him to the national championship, he is way better than Everett Golson. Way better than the Deshaun Kaiser. Way better than any, I'm actually going to go far as well and say he's better than Brady Quinn, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm saying a lot because Brady Quinn was a hell of a college quarterback. He went top 3 overall in the NFL draft. But, this kid, Sam Hartman, is amazing. One thing that, Cal McCord is going to have to deal with, and he's been completing. I mean, his last, couple games, albeit it's been against real, not as good competition. Completing 76% of his passes, so with 6 touchdowns. Him and Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously, they were old high school teammates. They look great together. But he's going against one of the top-ranked efficiency defenses in the nation, pass efficiency defense in the nation. That secondary is nasty. They're holding guys to 44. They're holding quarterbacks to 44% completion percentage, which I don't think that's going to happen against Kyle McCord. But 44% is pretty damn good for any team that they went against. And 5.2 yards per attempt. I mean that is what you call efficient as all heck. They got 70 quarterback pressures. On the season, so they're getting after it. They're pinning their ears back and getting after it. This is gonna be a close one. This is gonna be a dogfight, but I think Sam Hartman puts the Notre Dame fight out. And I'm not being biased here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I'm not being biased. I'm gonna go Notre Dame to beat Ohio State at home to continue their path to the college football playoff. Like I said, this is 1 out of 2 games that Notre Dame has to win. Really 1 out of 3 games that Notre Dame has to win in order to make the college football playoff. That's this game against Ohio State, USC, and Clemson. They beat those teams in the college football playoff.
Yeah, and the Clemson one's going to be tough because it's in Death Valley.
Yes. Yes, it's gonna and it's later in the season too, if I'm not mistaken. So, anyways, I believe that Notre Dame has a chance to beat them just based off of everything I said. The quarterback play, the top top defense, secondary, one of the top secondaries in the league. They're gonna make it tough for Kyle McCord. They're boasting. Audric Estime has been one probably the best running back in the nation this season. He's number two in FBR in the FBS in yards per game this season. He's been with over 130 yards a game. I also estimate that running game, the offensive line has been physical. I like Notre Dame to win this football game, ladies and gentlemen, this weekend. And then my upset of the week here. We don't have to go into too much detail if we don't want to, but I got Arkansas beating number 12 LSU. I know we just talked about Jaden Daniels and company, but some about this game, some about Arkansas, some about KJ Jefferson. In big games like this, KJ Jefferson shows up and shows out.
He
I
does.
like the Arkansas Razorbacks to win this game against LSU in Baton Rouge. This is going to be a hell of a game. This is going to be a tight game. How do you see this one shaking out?
I think Arkansas keeps it tough because they're a physical football team and they like to run downhill. They like to run it at you. But I like LSU in this one. I like LSU by a field goal. I just, I think I want to see what Jaden does because I'm sure he has naysayers out there saying, "Oh, can he do it again?" And I think this is the game where he proves that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe Jaden Daniels. The last three meetings last year, they were in Fayetteville, Arkansas. They came away with a 13-10 victory. The last three meetings between these two teams have all been decided between 3 points or less, so or 3 points in general. So they have played each other tight in the last few seasons, and I expect this one to be another tight one. I think that this is going to be the last hurrah. I think for KJ Jefferson. I know he's still young. I think he has another year eligibility, but I think KJ Jefferson is a guy that we're not talking about enough because Arkansas isn't ranked. But I think KJ Jefferson is a guy that can take over a game with his running ability. He's so strong. He's big, 6'3", 247. His passing ability has gotten better. I like KJ Jefferson to go into LSU and pull out the upset against LSU, ladies and gentlemen. So put that on y'all parlays this weekend. And then going into our Heisman rankings, at number 1, I got Caleb Williams still. He's just been phenomenal. Number 2, Michael Penix. Those two stay the same this week. And then Shedeur Sanders, he climbs up a spot in the Heisman rankings. And so does Sam Hartman. He climbs up a spot as Jordan Travis moves down. And then my dark horse is Quinn Ewers is starting to rise up in the Heisman rankings as well. So is Bo Nix as well. As we get the weekend, right? A great weekend with Bo Nix versus Shedeur Sanders, two guys in the Heisman conversation. And Drake May is on the verge of dropping out of these Heisman conversations. He just hasn't played well so far this year. He's had similar of a Sam Howell drop off. Where Sam Howell was projected number 1 overall pick at one point, and then he dropped off his, that last season that he was at UNC. Drake May's kind of having that similar of a drop off, but I do believe that he'll put it together. This season he'll have a string of games where he plays well, hopefully. But yeah, these are the week 4 Heisman rankings this week, ladies and gentlemen. And anyways, hope you guys like the show, man. Happy Thursday. Go ahead, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast at Prime Sports World. I'm Israel Rivera. That's Christian Simpson here, keeping it locked in every week for College Football Showdown. So you guys go ahead and catch all your favorite college football games. This was a doozy this Saturday. And go ahead and drop your favorite games there in the comment section. As like we always like to say. In case you miss this live feed, you can catch us on all podcast streams where podcasts can be heard. And check out Christian on Monday Evening Quarterback. When does that come out, Christian? On Tuesdays, you said?
It comes out every Monday night.
Every Monday night.
Yeah, man, having a blast with it on Spotify. Catch us on Spotify, Twitch, YouTube, Blog Talk Radio, and the Nerdport Network. Then you can catch me every Monday night and Tuesday night back on Prime Sports World on the Prime.
Absolutely.
See TJ and David. Wednesdays, you can catch me on the Nerd Zone on the Nerd Report Network with those three knuckleheads, Ronnie, John, and Chris. And then Fridays, I'm back with my brother Israel Rivera, College Football Showdown.
Man, Christian is a busy man during the week, and also catch the Daily Blitz blog as Christian keeps it locked in for the guys that play on Sunday and the guys that play on Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. And keep it locked in. Prime Sports World has a special surprise. We are in the midst of launching a new website, so you guys don't want to miss that exclusive content that we come out with. We will let you know once that's up and running. It's under construction right now, but Prime Sports World keeping it locked in here, coming out with a website here for you guys to read, some of our favorite articles that we'll come out with. And also, if you are a college student, we'll be coming with an internship program here soon for Prime Sports World. So we will keep that locked in. We'll keep all that news here for college content, college athletic content here soon in the future. But for right now, everything is under construction, and we just want to let you guys know that it will be coming soon here, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, thanks for joining us tonight. You guys keep it locked in. And in case I miss you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
In case I missed you too, holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy. Sayonara, suckers. See you later, baby.